Let's bring you some breaking news that has come to us in the last minute or so from Buckingham Palace. His Majesty the King has today initiated a formal process.
King Charles quietly made Princess Catherine the guardian of the crown jewels.
Thank you very much for being here today. I hope you'll find it interesting and insightful. I'm certainly looking forward to it. And we've got some fantastic speakers, so thank you to all of you for your time, support and commitment.
Leaving Queen Camilla with no authority over the royal collection.
What are you able to bring to these sorts of conversations?
Well, I'm not sure what I'm able, something I could do to help.
And when she found out, her reaction shocked everyone inside Buckingham Palace. The annual diplomatic reception at Buckingham Palace is one of the most closely watched events on the royal calendar. Every year, ambassadors, foreign representatives, and senior members of the royal family gather for an evening defined by tradition and careful planning. The 2026 reception began no differently. Guests arrived, conversations filled the state dining room, and every detail unfolded exactly as expected. Then, in the space of a few unexpected moments, the evening took a direction that no one inside the palace could have predicted. According to reports during the event, King Charles suddenly lost his balance and collapsed. In a single moment, the atmosphere inside the room changed completely. Those who had arrived expecting a routine royal event instead found themselves witnessing an emergency that very few people were ever expected to speak about publicly. Palace staff reacted almost immediately. Members of the security team quickly stepped between the king and the guests, while others guided people away from the area. Even guests and visitors were escorted through different hallways instead of leaving by the main route. Medical specialists arrived almost immediately and were taken directly to the king's private rooms. The doors remained closed for hours, and almost nobody outside that small group knew what was happening inside. By the time the doctors finally left, it was already late at night. No detailed explanation followed, and the lack of information naturally encouraged more questions than answers. As time passed, the public was given a picture that appeared reassuring. 1 week after the incident, he made his first public appearance, where he spoke positively about his medical care and suggested that the amount of treatment he needed could become smaller in the future. Many people understood those comments as a sign that his condition was becoming more stable. News reports reflected that hopeful message, and attention slowly shifted back to normal royal engagements. For a while, it seemed that the health concerns surrounding the king were beginning to ease. However, behind closed doors, things were not back to normal. You see, on the very day where Charles collapsed and was struggling for his life, the very person who was expected to stand by his side was actually struggling for something else. You see, on that very evening, Camilla was enraged that Catherine wore one of the most important royal jewelry pieces. It was the Queen Mother's sapphire and diamond parure. This beautiful set included a necklace, earrings, and brooch. The deep blue sapphires were clear and striking, set with fine diamonds. The jewels had been part of the royal collection for generations. They represented tradition, stability, and the special favor of past queens. The parure was worn on major state occasions and carried real historical meaning. Camilla had tried many times to get possession of the set. Each time she was told she did not have clearance. This rejection had built up strong frustration inside her. That evening, Camilla went to confront Catherine. Those close to the family described Camilla as sharp and insistent in the conversation. She questioned why Catherine was wearing the parure at such an important event. Her words showed years of resentment about her own position and the symbols of royal life. Catherine stayed calm and kind. She listened carefully and spoke with quiet steadiness. She explained that the choice followed long traditions and the wishes within the family. Catherine did not argue or raise her voice. She showed the good nature and composure that people who know her often admire. The exchange remained private, but the tension between the two women was clear to those nearby. But this is the shocking part. Despite all that was going on when Charles collapsed, Catherine and Anne were the only ones that stayed with him throughout the recovery process. They remained close in the private rooms, They offered calm support while doctors worked for hours. Camilla was not there during those critical moments. Her anger over the jewelry and other matters kept her focus elsewhere. This absence was noticed by people present that night. Camilla was so angry that Charles gave Catherine Clarence over something she had yearned for. The decision added to the deep disappointment she felt. Now, this single action caused Charles to do something that many never believed would happen. After his recovery, he quietly called Camilla to his private quarters to inquire why she was not there when he needed her most. When Camilla arrived, things took a different turn, with Camilla pouring her anger at her husband over the jewelry. She called his actions unfair and biased. It was clear there was no remorse in her words. Charles stayed calm and listened until she left the room. Then he called on his personal aide, Mrs. Moore, and gave her private instructions. In less than 25 minutes after Mrs. Moore had left, the two were sitting in his office. Charles was very quick with the reason for calling them. He told them that from that day onwards, the royal jewelry should be in possession of Princess Catherine. This came as a very strange gesture to both Sir Jonathan Hargrove, the royal solicitor, and Lady Margaret Ellis, the keeper of the royal jewels. Because in royal history, when it comes to jewelry control, it always goes to the Queen. Since Charles took over in 2022, he did no such thing, and now he wanted to hand it over. Passing his queen and going to a princess was really shocking, and the shock was written all over their faces. Sir Jonathan Hargrove asked, "What about Queen Camilla?" Charles stood for the first time in that meeting and then began to narrate all that had happened to the gentleman. He went on to emphasize how important royal jewelries are. These pieces are not simply beautiful objects to wear. They carry the weight of centuries of British history and tradition. Worn during state visits, coronations, diplomatic receptions, and important family moments, the jewels help show the strength and continuity of the monarchy. The sapphires, diamonds, emeralds, and rubies have been passed down with great care. Each stone tells stories of past kings and queens, alliances between nations, and quiet acts of duty. They are more than personal items. They belong to the institution and represent the dignity of the crown to the public and the world. Allowing division or personal conflict over them could damage the respect the monarchy needs to survive. For generations, careful rules have guided who holds and wears them. This system protects the collection from disputes and keeps its symbolic power strong. The jewels also play a role in soft diplomacy. When a senior royal wears a historic piece, it sends a message of stability and heritage. In times of uncertainty, they remind people of the enduring nature of the royal family. Charles spoke at length about these responsibilities. He explained how the wrong hands could turn these treasures into sources of tension instead of unity. "So you see," he continued, "after all that happened, it has given me time to think, and I have come to realize that it is more than a jewelry. Whoever is in control of it, and Camilla is not the one." Then came a question that shocked everyone in the room. Sir Jonathan Hargrove asked whether they should bring Camilla and William into the discussion first. This made sense because royal history shows that major decisions usually involve careful talks with principal family members before any final verdict. But Charles said no. When a king gives such a clear refusal, the matter is settled. Documents were drafted right away and signed that night. Catherine was now the one in charge of the royal jewelries. But it did not end there. Now, you might be wondering if a king can make such a big move alone in the middle of the night without seeking permission. The answer is yes. The British monarchy operates under the royal prerogative. This gives the reigning monarch strong personal power over matters tied directly to the crown. No approval from Parliament or others is needed. The crown jewels fall fully under this authority. Legally, Charles had every right to act as he did. What stood out was not the legality, but the speed. Matters involving the royal collection normally take years. They involve long private talks, negotiations, and careful steps to avoid hurting anyone. Charles ignored all that tradition. He turned months or years of usual process into one quick midnight decision. The haste sent a strong message about how much Camilla's actions had affected him. The room fell silent after the signing. Sir Jonathan and Lady Margaret Ellis looked visibly shocked. They had expected family consultation and a slower process. Charles spoke with quiet resolve. His experience during the collapse had changed his thinking. Catherine's steady support that night, in contrast to other absences, clearly influenced him. By placing the historic jewels under her control, he was protecting symbols he saw as vital for the monarchy's future. Outside the office, palace life continued normally. Staff carried out daily duties and events went on as planned. Yet inside, a major shift had occurred. The jewels, long viewed as the Queen's domain, were now in Catherine's hands. This broke from generations of custom and created new tensions. The decision highlighted deep differences within the family. It also showed Charles's desire to act while he still could. The following morning, word came to Catherine through the king's aide. The message before her struck her deeply. She had just read that, effective immediately, the royal jewelries were now in her control. There was no explanation whatsoever. This was a real and significant promotion for her, especially after the difficult past year in which she had survived her own fight with cancer. Despite everything, she tried to remain composed. She folded the paper carefully and went to find her husband. William was in his private study when she entered. To her greatest surprise, he was just as shocked as she was. He looked up from his desk with genuine surprise in his eyes. Catherine showed him the message. They sat together quietly for a moment, processing what it meant. William had not been told in advance. The decision had clearly been made without consulting him. With curiosity in his eyes, he decided to go to the only person he knew would give him a straight answer. And that person was his father. Charles received his son in his private sitting room. He looked tired, but clear-headed. William asked directly what had led to this sudden change. His father was very quick and straight in his explanation. He spoke about the night of the collapse and the events that followed. He described how Camilla's absence during his most difficult hours, combined with the confrontation over the jewels, had forced him to think carefully about trust and the future. Charles explained that the royal jewelries were more than personal items. They were symbols of the monarchy's continuity and dignity. He had come to believe that Catherine was the right person to hold them at this time. William listened carefully. He did not interrupt. His father's words carried the weight of someone who had faced his own mortality and made decisions accordingly. Charles emphasized that this was not done out of anger, but out of a desire to protect what mattered most. He trusted Catherine's steady character and the way she had supported the family during the crisis. The conversation stayed calm and respectful, but both men understood the significance of the moment. When William returned to Catherine, he shared everything his father had said. She sat quietly, taking it all in. The responsibility now on her shoulders was heavy. The royal jewelry included some of the most historic and valuable pieces in the collection. Handling them meant more public attention and greater expectations. Yet Catherine remained composed, as she always tried to be. She told William they would face this together, just as they had faced other challenges. Meanwhile, Camilla was not aware about what had just happened, because this change was contained to just a few persons. The king had chosen to keep the circle small, but that was only the beginning. Once Camilla learned about this development, her reaction to the news was unlike anything anyone expected, and it's the part of this story you won't want to miss. News of all that happened did not get to Camilla until the following week. She was supposed to join Charles for the annual royal garden party at Buckingham Palace in July. As usual, she sent word to the royal keeper of the jewels to prepare the famous Koh-i-Noor diamond for her. This was no small piece. The legendary diamond, one of the largest in the world, carried immense historical weight and controversy. It was meant to match her chosen cream and gold outfit for the occasion, an elegant ensemble that would shine under the summer sun. In the past, while Charles was king, he had acted mostly as a figurehead when it came to the jewelries. Camilla would request pieces and receive them without question. This time, however, she met resistance. Catherine had quickly put new structures in place to make sure things were properly accounted for. These included a formal approval process, detailed logging of every piece taken from the collection, and a small team that tracked movement and condition of the jewels. Requests now needed clear documentation and, in some cases, Catherine's direct sign-off. The changes aimed to bring transparency and prevent any future disputes. For the first time, Camilla's request was not immediately granted. Camilla was in shock when the aide informed her that the request could not be fulfilled without further approval. For a moment she said nothing, then her expression hardened. She had worn major pieces from the collection many times before without this kind of delay. This new process felt like a direct challenge to her position. She quickly moved to her husband. Charles was resting in his private sitting room when Camilla entered. Her voice was sharp as she told him what had happened. She questioned the sudden new rules and asked why she now needed approval for something that had always been straightforward. Charles listened calmly but did not waver. He explained that Catherine was in charge. He reminded her gently of the events surrounding his collapse and the decisions that followed. Camilla pressed further, but Charles remained firm. The structures Catherine had put in place would stay. Here's where it gets even messier. In her anger, Camilla forgot to fully close the study door behind her. A member of staff standing nearby caught every single word. She bluntly told Charles that he had made her irrelevant while she was still breathing beside him as his wife. Charles's answer was not an apology. It was something colder. He simply told her the crown was never something a wife keeps. It was only ever something she was allowed to borrow. That single sentence stripped away everything polite the family had ever pretended to be. He was not calling Camilla a partner. He was calling her a guest, someone permitted to hold a few pretty things for a while, always on the understanding that none of it was ever truly hers. To understand why that cut so deep, it's important to remember what being a consort in the House of Windsor actually means. A consort does not inherit the throne or the crown jewels. She only borrows access to certain pieces for certain occasions, always at the pleasure of the reigning monarch. Camilla had known this in an abstract way for years, but hearing it spoken so plainly, in the same breath as the news that Catherine now held permanent control, turned an old truth into a fresh wound. This explosion had been building for a long time. Camilla had once quietly requested a historic diamond necklace for an important state visit. The request went unanswered. 2 years later, the same Queen Mother's sapphire appeared around Catherine's neck at a state dinner. As the staff member listened, Camilla reportedly said she refused to be the second wife erased from 2 histories at once. Charles did not call after her when she stormed out. He stayed seated, looking at the door as though nothing had happened. Camilla did not wait long. She demanded a private meeting with Catherine the very next afternoon. The 2 women met in a small sitting room at Buckingham Palace. The moment Camilla walked in, the air felt tense. She wasted no time on polite words. She attacked Catherine right away. Camilla spoke with a sharp, angry voice. She demanded to know why the royal jewelries had been taken from her control and given to Catherine. She called the new approval process a direct insult to her position as queen. "Who do you think you are?" she said. She accused Catherine of using Charles's illness to grab power for herself. She told Catherine she was trying to push her aside while she was still alive and standing next to the king. Her words were bitter and personal. She reminded Catherine that she was only the Princess of Wales and should remember her place. Camilla suggested Catherine was acting like she was already queen, even though she had no right to be. Catherine stayed calm and tried not to raise her voice. She explained that the new rules were simply to protect the jewels and keep proper records. She said the decision came from Charles himself. She offered to work together and choose pieces fairly in the future. But Camilla was not interested in peace. She kept pushing, calling Catherine ungrateful and ambitious. She said Catherine was using her popularity to take what did not belong to her. The insults came fast. Camilla told her she would never be respected the way a true queen should be. The meeting grew more heated. Catherine remained steady and respectful, but the words clearly hurt her. She repeated that she was only following the king's wishes and had no desire to cause division. Camilla left the room furious, her face red with anger. She slammed the door behind her. Those who heard parts of the raised voices later said it was one of the worst clashes they had seen between the two women. Camilla had shown a side full of resentment and bitterness. Catherine, on the other hand, had tried to keep her dignity. The confrontation left deep wounds. It showed how much anger had built up over the years. The upcoming royal garden party was now just days away. For the first time in a long while, the royal family felt truly divided. Everyone inside the palace wondered what would happen when they all had to appear together in public. The tension grew so much that it reached every corner of Windsor. The staff talked about it in the hallways. Senior aides exchanged worried looks. Soon, the story moved beyond the palace walls. Various posts on X and Instagram filled the media space. 3 posts strongly supported Camilla, calling her a loyal wife pushed aside unfairly. 2 others praised Catherine for her grace and sense of duty. The comments grew quickly. Hashtags like #RoyalJewels and #WindsorFeud started trending. It was clear the public had picked sides, but they never knew the full story. Even mainstream news outlets carried the story. Headlines read, "Feud in Windsor over jewelry," and "Queen Camilla sidelined as Princess Catherine takes control." The reports were careful, but the message was strong. People began talking about division inside the royal family at a time when unity was most needed. This was the part that changed everything. When the situation reached a breaking point, Charles took action. He decided to speak directly to the public. In a short televised address from Buckingham Palace, he came forward to clear the air. Once on television, Charles spoke with a tired but firm voice. He addressed the rumors head-on. He explained that Camilla had been a strong support during his illness. He thanked her for her dedication. But he went further. He said the decision about the royal jewelries was made after careful thought. He revealed that the Queen Mother's sapphire parure had strong connections to Princess Diana's time in the family. Giving it to Camilla would have been painful for many reasons. Instead, placing it and other key pieces with Catherine was an attempt to protect the collection's history and avoid unnecessary hurt. Charles spoke about the confrontation as well. He admitted that difficult words had been exchanged in private. He said the family was working through its challenges the way any family does. He asked the public to respect their privacy during this time. Many viewers were surprised by how open he was. This was a side of the king they had rarely seen. When this address got out, the narrative in the media shifted. It was more balanced. Some outlets focused on Charles's honesty and leadership. Others still sympathized with Camilla's position. But the wild speculation began to calm. People saw that the situation was more complicated than simple good versus bad. This was not just about protecting the jewelries. It was about the future of the monarchy. Once again, Catherine has proved to be prepared. Her steady presence during Charles's collapse, her calm handling of the new responsibility, and her focus on duty showed she could carry the weight when needed. Charles had seen this clearly. His decision was about trust and long-term stability. But even with Charles's public intervention, the tension remained. The reason Camilla never got the jewelry is now known, but the hurt is still there. Camilla has carried herself with dignity in public, yet those close to her see the strain. She feels pushed aside in her own marriage and her own role. The words Charles spoke to her in private still echo. Being called someone who only borrows the crown cut deep. And now, for the first time in a long while, the royal family felt truly divided. Everyone inside the palace wondered what would happen when they all had to appear together in public. Camilla continues her duties, but the warmth inside the family has cooled. Catherine focuses on her work and her children. William tries to support everyone while protecting his own family. Charles hopes time will help heal the wounds, but he knows some breaks take longer to mend. The jewelries remain symbols of history and power, but now they also represent unresolved pain and shifting trust. Camilla's anger did not come from nowhere. Years of small slights and the memory of being second had built up. Charles's collapse simply brought everything to the surface. But if there is anything this has shown for Catherine, it is the fact she's prepared for the task of her when she becomes queen. So what do you think? Did King Charles make the right decision by placing the royal jewels under Catherine's control? Or should Queen Camilla have remained in charge? And if you were in Charles's position, would you have made the same choice? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.